The Prime Minister spoke at the National Press Club today in what was billed as a major speech outlining his second-term agenda. In reality, there was little in it except Anthony Albanese claiming a sweeping endorsement of his view of Australia, which on one level he's entitled to do, having won a thumping majority, but also on another level he's kidding himself because Labor won less than 35% of the primary vote, so it hardly has a plan that's wildly popular. The main news out of the speech was that Albanese plans to do what both major parties should have done before the election, come up with a policy mix for economic growth and productivity.
That's why I've asked the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers, to convene a roundtable to support and shape our government's growth and productivity agenda. At Parliament House in August, we will bring together a group of leaders from the business community, the union movement and civil society.
Yeah, we need economic reform, that's for sure. Maybe some good ideas will come out of this roundtable summit, whatever they're going to call it. But when you consider one of the main problems in the economy is our over-regulated labour market, you'd think your unions will kill off any meaningful reforms there. And tax reform is probably too hard for our current crop of politicians too. Trimming government spending is a test they keep failing as well. So perhaps the best we can hope for is cutting some red tape. One critical economic input is energy and electricity prices. We've thrown away our cheap energy advantage, of course, putting a handbrake on our economy, even a millstone around its neck, thanks to the pretense that we can change the climate. The latest threat from our national energy self-harm comes with the Tomago aluminium smelter in New South Wales' Hunter region, where 1,000 direct jobs and 5,000 jobs indirectly could go if the operation collapses in the face of escalating electricity prices. It's likely at the very least to need some sort of government bailout. So given this and Labor's abject failure to deliver the cheaper power costs it promised in its first term, the loudest noise in Albo's speech today was what he did not say. He did not mention electricity prices at all. He was silent on it, sticking to his usual lines about net zero instead.
A future where we realise our potential as a renewable energy superpower. A future where we have a thriving, advanced manufacturing industry.
This is delusional. Talk of a renewable energy superpower is laughable. There is no such thing. And Labor's pretense that we can become one is pushing manufacturing out of this country. Just ask Tomago. We need to measure Labor's nonsensical energy rhetoric against reality.
Will be leading the global green hydrogen revolution.
And what we know is that the green hydrogen sector has an enormous potential in this country.
Only Labor has the plan to ensure that Australia is part of and is leading that hydrogen revolution.
Yeah, the green hydrogen revolution. That's what they actually say. This is just risible. They're having a lend of us. I've shown you before the long list of multi-billion-dollar so-called green hydrogen projects backed by governments with subsidies, and they've still fallen over. And now it's been revealed that the projects that are still proceeding, for now at least, well, they say their hydrogen output will end up being 4 times more expensive than rival energy sources. In other words, they're not economic. They're not financially or practically viable. Labor continues to try to sell this country an energy pup. Your dollars chasing impossible renewable and hydrogen dreams. Now, the only proven, reliable, emissions-free energy source is the one that Labor opposes.
Australians rejected nuclear power, not just because of its staggering cost, but because people recognise the Liberals and Nationals' plan for what it was, a last desperate attempt to delay action on climate change and derail the transition to renewable energy.
Now, for anyone looking at this issue logically and examining what's happening around the world, this is an extraordinarily ignorant claim. All Albanese needs to do is talk to his Labor Party mates in the UK who are all in on nuclear now and talk about how indispensable it is. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband has announced the biggest nuclear program in a generation to get Britain off what he calls the fossil fuel roller coaster. Labor will now build another massive nuclear power station and develop small modular reactors with a spend of more than £14 billion or 30 billion Australian dollars. All of the expert advice says nuclear has a really important role to play in the energy system, says Miliband. In any sensible reckoning, this is essential to get our clean power and net zero ambitions. Yeah, UK Labor recognises that nuclear is essential to get to net zero. Australian Labor is pretending that green hydrogen and wind turbines and solar panels can do the job. The trouble is they're not only betting your dollars on this, they're betting your future on it too.